G'day everyone, Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a nice break over the Christmas period. I didn't have much of a rest because I've actually been working pretty much full time over the school holidays, trying to add a bit more money to the bus fund so I can get this bus finished. But anyway, I'm finally back to getting to work on the bus, which is great. And the next job that I'm going to be doing is actually to secure in my fridge. And this is the fridge that I am putting into my bus. And yes, it's a massive fridge, and I know people are going to say it's ridiculous having a fridge this size in a coaster, but I actually bought this fridge when I had the big bus originally, and it would have been perfect size for that bus. But it's just such an awesome fridge, and I didn't want to get rid of it. So I have taken all the shelves and everything out. I haven't put them back in yet, but like that's fridge space. And check out this size of this freezer. So good. So I pretty much designed my layout around being able to fit in this fridge. So this is where it's going. I've got it in position. It's as far back against the wall as I can put it. And as you can see, I don't have a lot of room here, but there's enough room to fully open the doors without any problem at all. So that's all good. So all I need to do now is secure it into position. But before I can do that, I actually need to do a bit of a rebuild of this wall, because I built this wall months ago, and what I didn't realise until just now when I've put the fridge in position is down here on the sides of the fridge, you can see this is where the air vents are for this fridge, down the bottom on the side, and you can see that this stud that I've got here is smack bang in front of that air vent, which is no good because you need to have a good amount of air space around that to let for sufficient airflow. So and it's the same on the other side, which is really annoying. So you can see here that this stud is right where that air vent is. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is actually take out this stud here and just put another one in like a little bit further forward so it well and truly clears that air vent. It's a bit annoying because this stud is actually going into a batten that I've got screwed into the metal frame of the bus here, so it's like super solid. And if I put another one further forward, pretty much all I've got to screw it to is the boards in the ceiling, which are only 12mm thick. But anyway, hopefully it'll be okay. This front one is super solid because it's going into timber that I've got screwed into the metal frame of the bus, so it's super solid. This one here is super solid as well. So hopefully if I just move the stud, like put a new stud in further forward and brace it sufficiently, then that'll be fine. This wall is also going to be braced to a certain extent by the lining boards that I'm going to be putting in the top half, and also I'll be building another kitchen cabinet in here which will join onto this and help to brace that wall as well. So I'm not too concerned about that. It's just a bit of a pain that I have to take out and redo this middle section of the wall on each side. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'll show you how I'm going to go about securing the fridge in position so it doesn't move when I'm driving. Okay, so this is what the wall looks like now. I've moved the stud over, put in a couple of extra noggins, And you can see now that the side vents are clear of the studs, so there is plenty of airflow is going to be able to get around those vents there. And if I come around the other side, it's the same here. So this fridge, according to the manual, is actually supposed to have 50mm clearance around all sides and at the top to allow sufficient airflow for the fridge to work properly. I don't quite have that here. These pieces of pine here that I've used for the walls are 42mm thick, so obviously, you know, they're pretty close to the fridge at the front here, but it means when I clad this wall, the lining of the wall is going to be 42mm from the fridge, so it's not quite 50, but I'm hoping that will be okay because I'm only going to be cladding the top half of the wall. So like I did on this side, I'm only going to be cladding the wall above bench height, and then underneath there will actually be like the inside of my kitchen cabinet under the sink, and I'm actually going to leave this pretty much open because you won't see it unless you look inside the cupboard. And I haven't yet decided whether I am going to put just a piece of thin ply with a bunch of holes in it to allow the airflow, or whether I'm just going to leave it mostly open the way it is now. It'll just depend on what shelving and things I want to put in under here. I haven't quite worked that out yet, but basically under bench height, this is going to be mostly open. So the airspace around the fridge there will be sort of inside this cabinet here as well. So I'm hoping that will help. Also, you can see at the back, I've got a really big gap here. This is about 250mm almost from the wall. So there's a big gap there. I've got a lot more than 50mm gap above the fridge as well. And on the other side here, this is where my bathroom vanity is going. So I'm only going to be cladding this wall above bench height, and underneath is going to be, I'm actually going to have a washing machine under here, so I'm not actually going to be cladding this part of the wall at all. So this side of the fridge under bench height will actually be open to the space under here as well. So I'm hoping that's sufficient airflow. So what I need to do now is secure the fridge in place so that it doesn't move while we're driving. So now obviously it's not going to be able to slide this way because I'm going to have this wall here and the kitchen cabinet and everything stopping it in this direction. It's not going to be able to slide towards the back because I'm going to have the bathroom vanity and other things on that side. It can't really tip forward because the back of the fridge will kind of hit the ceiling. It's pretty much wedged in there, but it can still slide out this way, so I need to be able to prevent that. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm actually going to be putting a couple of pieces of aluminium angle in. I'm going to have a piece of aluminium angle going across the top, and I'm also going to have one that's going to be fixed to the floor, and those two things together will hopefully stop the fridge sliding out this way. I've got a heap of this 40 by 40 aluminium angle that I actually picked up for free from a curbside collection pile, and I used some of it in to make the shelves in the pantry and my kitchen cabinet that I've made previously. So I'm going to be using some more of that, and basically what I'm going to be doing is cutting a length that's the same width as the fridge, and it's going to sit down on top of the fridge like this. It'll be bolted through my timber wall frame here at each end, and then it's also going to be secured down into the top of the fridge. So that way that will stop the fridge being able to move this way because it's going to be fixed to this, which is fixed to that, and hopefully that will be strong enough. Now, the way that I'm going to fix it into the fridge is actually to use existing holes that are already in the fridge. One of the good things about this fridge is that it actually has a reversible door. So obviously here at the top you can see, well, hopefully you can see, sorry it's a bit awkward space, the hinge plate here that the door swings out on. And it is bolted down into the fridge through some holes that are here. So you can see there's one bolt in there. I've taken out the other two bolts here, but there's 2 more bolts that go into holes here. And so what I'm actually going to do is drill some holes in the aluminium angle that line up with these holes. So I'm actually bolting down into the threaded holes that are already in the fridge here. And that's how I'm going to secure the angle. And because it's a reversible door, this fridge also has, see, it has identical holes on this end of the fridge as well. So again, I can line up the holes in the angle at this end and bolt straight through into the existing holes that are in the fridge. And that means I'm not drilling any extra holes. I'm not screwing anything into the fridge in an area where I might pierce something important. I'm not causing any damage to the fridge because I'm just using the existing holes. These are the bolts that were in the fridge holding down that hinge plate you just saw. And I only have 3 of these bolts because obviously that's all that came with the fridge. That's all that's needed for that hinge plate. But what I did was I went to my local nuts and bolts shop here in town and got some other bolts that are identical. So they have an identical thread. They thread exactly down into the holes that the original fridge bolts screw into. These ones here are just a fraction longer, but that's actually perfect for me because I'm also going to be, you know, they have to go through a couple of mil of the aluminium angle as well. So yeah, I was able to get identical bolts that fit perfectly in the holes. So I've got a bunch of them here. So I've got plenty to be able to bolt in that aluminium angle at each end. Okay, so I've got this piece of angle kind of centered in between the wall studs. So I've got it in position and I've put in the 2 bolts back on the hinge here. I haven't obviously threaded them all down, but I've got them threaded into position there. And I've put one up this end too in one of the holes. So now the angle is sitting down on all those bolts, and now the tricky thing I have to do is mark exactly where the holes need to be in the angle, which might be a bit tricky. What I'm going to try doing is just colouring in the top of the bolt heads here with marking pen, thick marking pen, and then pushing this down on top, and hopefully that might mark the underside. Yeah, we'll give that a go anyway, otherwise I'll just have to try and do it by eye, but it's going to be a bit tricky because it's an awkward space to work with here. Okay, so that kind of worked. You can see a little bit of a mark there, and on this end you can kind of see 2 rings. So what I'm going to try and do is try and kind of estimate where the center of these marks are and drill my holes there to start with, and we'll just see how we go. Okay, so they're my holes, 1 at this end, 2 at this end. Let's go and see if they line up. was such a fluke. Okay, so now this piece of angle is well and truly secured onto this fridge. So hopefully you can see I've got it bolted on through there and this end. And at this end, I've actually got 2 bolts going through that into the hinge plate. So it's well and truly stuck on. I just had to put a couple of washers under the angle at this end because it obviously doesn't have the hinge plate that it's sitting on up there. So just to make it nice and level, got a couple of washers under there. So now what I need to do is secure the angle to the timber frame here. And so I need to drill a hole in here so that I can bolt it through there, and the same up the other end. And there it is. So at the moment I've just got a normal nut on here. When I go to Bunnings next, I'll get some lock nuts. I haven't got any in the right size for these bolts, but I'll put a lock nut on there, and that'll be super secure. So that fridge can't go anywhere now. I probably don't even need to put angle on the bottom, but I will, just to give it a bit more extra support and to take some of the pressure off this one if it does try to slide forward. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. I've designed this too so that if something ever happened to this fridge and I had to take it out of the bus and replace it, then I'll actually be able to get to this, because when I do my lining boards on this wall, I'll just make it so that the top couple can be removed so I can have access to that bolt if I ever need to get the fridge out, which hopefully I won't, because you can't get this same size fridge anymore. And this is what I'm going to do at the bottom. I'm just going to put a piece of angle here like that. Now obviously this angle is not quite big enough. I could get bigger angles so that it came further up the fridge, but this is what I have. I don't want to go and buy new stuff just for this. So what I'm going to do is actually screw a piece of timber down into the floor just to raise it up a little bit, and then this angle can get screwed down into the timber. So I'm really happy with that. Fridge is as pretty much as secure as I can make it for now. The only thing left to do now is to stop the doors being able to come open when I'm driving. And originally I was just going to get a couple of Oki straps to connect to these timber pieces here and just go across the front, one there, one for the freezer door. But I saw an idea on another YouTube video. It was actually Traveler's Sweet channel, and Andrew had a very similar model fridge to mine, and he actually made a kind of handle that's screwed into a hole in his fridge to block the door. So I thought I might have a go at doing something similar, because if you look in here, again, because I've got the reversible door, I've actually got a couple of threaded holes in there already, and it would be good to be able to use them. So I thought I'd give this a crack, and this is what I've come up with so far. So this is just an M6 bolt. It's 100mm long, and it's the right size to screw into those threaded holes that are in the fridge door there. And on here, these were a couple of little brackets. They're little steel angle brackets that actually came off the interior lining of the coaster when I was stripping it all out way back in the beginning. And I kept these along with a whole bunch of other bits and pieces, thinking maybe I'll use them one day, and here we are. So I've just put 2 of these on the end of the bolt, and I've got a lock nut there so it's nice and tight. So I've got like a kind of a handle now that I can twist. And what I want to try and do is, if I come over to the fridge, not sure if you can see this terribly well, it's a bit of an awkward space, but I want to be able to screw this into this hole here. The idea being that it'll block these 2 doors here. Now the problem that I have, it does kind of go in, but it doesn't want to go in straight, because I have this little bit of plastic. If I open this door, it might be a bit easier to see. I have this little bit of plastic that's kind of getting in the way and stopping the bolt from being able to go straight under there. It's actually kind of hitting that and being pushed down at an angle, which is just going to bugger up this thread. So what I'm going to try and do is just kind of get rid of that little plastic bit that's sticking out there if I can, and then hopefully I'll be able to put this bolt straight through. So I've had this packet of furniture floor protector thingies for, I don't know, years, and I've never used them. So I'm actually going to cut a piece of this and stick it on this so that like it's not going to scratch the fridge so much when it gets screwed up against it. These are supposed to be self-adhesive, so I'm just going to try that first. If that doesn't work, I'll just get a bit of Sika or something to glue it down onto this, but we'll try this first. And it works! Like, I cannot open either of those doors at all. So you can see the bolt going through there into the hole in the door, and hopefully this bit of felt will protect the fridge from getting scratched. So I'll just screw that in when I want to drive, and then when I get to camp I can just unscrew it and open my doors. Shout out to Andrew from Traveller's Suite. Thanks for the idea, mate. Awesome. So I'm pretty happy with that. The fridge is as secure as I can get it, pretty much. I will find out whether it's enough next time I take the bus for a spin. Fingers crossed it'll be okay. I think it will be. Now that the fridge is done, I can go ahead and build the things on either side of it. So the next project that I'm going to be doing is another kitchen cabinet, which will hold my sink. So stay tuned for that one.